have to do this. Got that. So, all right. So I call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to our June 7th, 2022 video conference meeting. And we're doing it hybrid today. I'm going to give it a go here to try and run it from here. We do have equipment coming in that's going to help with the presentation, but and I'm still going to do the planning meetings from home, but this should be a good try today. So I'll ask everyone to turn off your cell phones or place them on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And yeah, I'll call the meeting to order. So declaration of pecuniary interest if it arises. I'll remind council that you can declare it now or declare it if something pops up later. We have minutes here from the special council meeting of April 21st, boathouse prohibition, regular council meeting May 3rd, and regular council meeting May 17th. So I'll look for a motion to receive those if they're all in order. Moved by Councillor Webb, seconder. So do I have a seconder there? Dave, you second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. So, all right then, we're going to move into delegations, and we have Elisa Johnson here, and with the Norwood District High School, and it's about a park concept drawing that she did and some others for our park here on Oak and George Street. So, welcome, Elisa.
On the screen.
Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, Elisa. So, if you wanted to describe or see what you were talking about or what would be needed up there or what would look good.
Yeah, so we were told that there should be a fountain, like that was an option. So I thought a fountain right in the middle so everyone around it can enjoy it. With the bell to memorialize the school. And then like around 4 picnic tables, 1 in each corner, and 2 gardens in the middle, and then garbage cans on each side so that there's no littering.
Very good. Yeah, there was a few drawings put in, and they all seem to have the water feature. So I was wondering where that came from. But
yeah, we were told water fountain.
Yeah, and yeah, and the other part big on them with benches. So
yeah,
a sitting area and the garbage cans are a good idea. So well done. It was it's something that we were hoping to get done this year, and hopefully we can incorporate some of these ideas into it as we move forward. But yeah, so has council got any questions or comments?
Yeah, just on that, on the configuration. So will be like, I see the 2 pillars for the entrance. I think that's the entrance. So would that be on Oak or George? George, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's and the bell is a good idea. We've been trying to figure out. We do have the bell from the original school in town, and don't know where it's going to go in town. And it was talked about if it could go there. And I guess if you put it in the middle of the water, maybe it won't get damaged. So they have to go through the water to get to it. So, anyways, does anybody else have any questions or comments for Lisa? Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I'd just like to thank you for your input. You know, it's great to have students involved and having a different vision, giving us something to work with. You know, like we have our own ideas too, but you add to it. You know, we can. It's good communication because we can have our ideas. You got some of your ideas are very good, so we incorporate and go from there. But it's nice to have young people involved, and I really appreciate you taking the time to get involved and helping us out.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for your experts.
So okay, so if there's no, Larry, do you have a question or comment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment as well. I'd like to thank Alicia for the presentation, and as been stated, some ideas to add to what we're planning there. The only other thing that would be really great if she could get a contractor lined up to do it.
Yeah.
We seem to be having.
My mom works for a contractor.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. There we go.
Perfect. Anyway, thank you, Alicia. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other comments,
I just have a
go ahead.
comment. So through you, Mayor Martin, just to explain, we all know that the township purchased this property from Shirley and Pat Patterson. And we all know that Shirley was a trustee with the school board for many, many years. So we thought that it would be a nice gesture to reach out to the students, and it would be a nice way to honor Shirley by having the students provide some input for the design of this park.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. And yeah, maybe you could, when you go back, maybe if you know the other students there, you could thank them for us for their contribution, and thank your teacher for letting us do this anyway. So hopefully we can incorporate some of this into the plan, and we'll have to get the number of the contractor from you. So
Tell your teacher to email me.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay, well, thank you for
Thank you.
coming today, and I'll look for a motion to receive the delegation. Moved by Councillor Webb, seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, well, thank you for coming.
Thank
We got you locked in. We're not gonna let
Okay,
you
go
in.
here. You're good? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, so our next delegation here is from Gallagher Benefit Services with regards to the elected official review, pay review. So is she here?
No.
No, so we're just going to go through this. Okay. Okay, then. So all right then. So we have the review in front. So
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Martin, if I could just explain, our delegation is unable to join us at this moment, but she will be joining us later in the meeting.
okay.
So if we could just defer this item to later in the meeting, we'll carry on with the agenda.
Okay, all right, then we're going to go into staff reports for information here, and there's a few. So there's one there with regards to a grant that's been applied for from Ryan and staff, and then the storm response with Bob, and I might comment on that part of it there that it's changing every day. We've had several meetings around the storm, and usually the management team or the emergency management team meets every morning and goes over some of the things that are outstanding, and we've done pretty well. When it comes to declaring a state of emergency, we didn't do that. I know it was an opportunity to do that in the beginning, and we did a lot of discussion around it and didn't feel that it was it would benefit us any. So in discussion with our MPP, he said it's not going to make any difference with regards to funding, and there's a lot of pockets across our township that have been hit real hard. It's not just one area. We're getting a lot of letters from Jack's Lake, but this thing goes right across the whole township with little pockets. I was up in Jack's Lake on Sunday taking a look, and it's devastating. It's and I know there's the same, you know, to the east. So the staff has done a great job, right from the front office right out to parks, roads, and fire. They've all chipped in to try and clear the roads and get them open, but there's a lot of work ahead of us, and I think it's going to show in the future here on how it's going to affect our roads, and I think we have some discussion later as far as the construction ahead of us, so for this season. So with that, I'm just going to leave the report there, the storm response report. There'll be another one going out this afternoon as far as some updates, and yeah, so the next thing we had on there was the closed session meeting summary. So I can take a motion to receive all those reports. Moved by Councillor Webb. Seconder. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Is there a comment there, Larry?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a quick question. I'd like to flip back for a minute to the grant that was proposed or applied for through Ryan.
Yeah.
At about the same time, or prior to that grant, I had given one about the Queen's Jubilee. There was grants available through not only the federal government, but some other agencies like the Heritage, a number of different things we could apply for. And I had given that prior to this grant for the playground equipment. And I was wondering if there was any follow-up, or was that applied for? I hate missing out on grants when they're available.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So thank Councillor Ellis for his question. Yes, that grant is being followed up on. The Queen's Jubilee grant was specific to that event, and it has to do with planning a special event to honor the Queen's Jubilee. Right. So we've been trying to brainstorm ideas. Admittedly, we haven't come up with one just yet, but we're open to suggestions on that.
Thank you, Bob. I just thought we could utilize it with some of the other items that we bring forward, like our Canada Day celebrations, those kind of things that we could utilize the grant in combination with. So anyway, if you're working on it, that's great. I just don't like missing out on grants. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. Okay, so we do have a motion, a mover and a seconder on the floor for the staff reports for information. I'm going to call a question. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, staff reports for follow-up action. Just trying to catch up here. So the one we have on here is with replacement pickup trucks with Public Works. Good morning, Peter.
Yes, good morning, Mayor Martin and members of council. The purpose of this report is to obtain council's approval to proceed with the purchase of 2 new pickup trucks of any color and trade in 2 of the existing trucks that we currently own as of now.
Okay. All right then. So these were approved in the budget, and I'm not sure where it's at now, but I guess it's what's council's thoughts here. Councilor Pomeroy, go ahead. And then Councilor Ellis.
Were they approved? I thought we pulled all the money on these trucks, and we're going to go over rentals. And since the rental situation has fallen through, what's the process now for reinstating the money back in the budget?
I thought the money was in there already, but the other, we were looking at the rental idea, but I don't think it's, I know it didn't go through the county, but Peter, do you know where the money's at for this?
Yes, it's coming out of our general ledger roads equipment reserve. Account numbers 3300-3120. These trucks were pre-approved early prior to the 2022 budget, and it was scheduled to come out of that general reserve, the roads equipment reserve as well.
Yeah, normally they're put away for over the 10 years or 7 years or whatever the lifespan of the vehicle. Normally it's in the reserve already. It was just we were looking at a different direction to go, and it didn't pan out. But Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as our Public Works manager has indicated, those 2 trucks were pre-approved. I think they got held up because we had discussion and did not approve 3 other vehicles in the fleet. And so unfortunately, Peter's 2 trucks kind of got held up there, but they're budgeted for and should have been replaced at that time. But again, unfortunately, they got held up with our budget and deliberations and the request for the other 3 new vehicles that had never been budgeted for. So
Okay.
If you're looking for a seconder on the motion, I'll second the motion to approve Peter's request.
Okay, so you want to move that, Larry?
I'll move it. I thought there had been a motion, but I'll move it. Yep.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Dro, you had a comment or a question, or?
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I'll second the motion with a comment. The other, yes, these two trucks were pre-approved some time ago. If I heard Councillor Ellis correctly, we're going to give permission for our public works manager to go out and find 2 new trucks. Is that correct?
That's the motion, or that's the request from our public works manager, and I made that motion.
Okay. It's not quite the way I read the report, but that's great. So if Peter can't find 2 new trucks, we'll have to go for tender. And the trucks that Peter are looking for, we don't care what color they are, because there's already been a motion passed to that effect some time ago. Am I correct, Peter?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. I believe you're correct, Deputy Mayor Dro, on the color is irrelevant. And yes, we're requiring 2 3/4 ton regular cab pickup trucks.
So you're going to put that out for people to bid on? Is that our tender?
Well, that was my question, Mayor Martin. If we don't go for tender, then we have to pre-approve these trucks. Council has to pre-approve them. Not pre-approved, but Bob helped me out with the wording here. It's we'll have to pass a bylaw to give the works department without going out to tender.
Yeah, like the normal process would be that we put it out there for people to give us the lowest price.
So through you, Mayor Martin, just to clarify, the recommendation in the report is to put a tender out for 2 trucks that are currently on a vehicle lot that are available immediately with no issue with respect to which color they are. Further to discussions that we had during budget, it was discussed that we would not specify the color, that we would take the most available vehicle. And this recommendation follows that direction in that discussion. So the tender is put out in order to reach province-wide dealerships or even Canada-wide dealerships. And if they have a truck on the lot that they can get to us in a hurry at a reasonable price, then we're going to take it.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay. All right, so that's the motion that we tender for 2 new trucks. Color isn't an issue. Any other comments or questions around that? Go ahead, Barry.
No, through you, Mr. Mayor. I guess it's all clear now, but I know when I first brought up the color, I didn't think anybody on council here agreed with me. They all looked at me like, what do you mean? Any color? Well, we're in a bind, and most people are. And to find a 3/4 ton 8-foot box, it's not going to be easy, I don't imagine. But I would think that there should be quite a few of them around. So put them out for tender, let everybody have a crack at it.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. All right, Peter.
Another question.
Oh, go ahead.
So is there going to be some specs go with that, Peter?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, there will be a complete spec sheet as of previous history we put out for 4-wheel drive example, or options, or what we require in the truck. That there definitely will be a spec sheet that goes out. We might have to be a little forgiving on it, just depending on what is on the lot and that is available. So
Might be 11-foot dump box on it or something like that. Okay, all right, so we have you can look after that then, Peter. Get something going there.
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, so next we're going to go into correspondence action items. And The first item there is around the roller skating. The Lions Club is talking on holding a few events this year, and they were asking if there would be any chance of donating the floor time. One of the things that Ryan has said that it does come into his budget if it's free, that it basically has to come from somewhere. So I don't know what council's thoughts are. The June 18th, I know, being taken care of by a business, and it's about $200 for the time that they're looking for. The one on there for July 1st, we have in the past done things for Canada Day, and I don't know if that would fit into our Canada Day celebration things, Bob, but is there a possibility of using that grant for that?
There is that possibility through you, Mayor Martin, and you'll see later in our correspondence that we were approved for the Canada Day grant, so that's possible.
Okay, as far as the other dates, I don't know.
Can you do it for the second?
Could you do the first and second, or is that pushing it?
We probably could.
Canada Day weekend.
It's Canada Day weekend, because the first is a Friday, so we can probably do that.
So that would take care of half of them, and then the other ones, we can see if they can come up with something for the others, or unless there's any other ideas here. So I'll open it up to council. Dave, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. First of all, either it's my speaker or your speaker, but a lot of your conversation this morning is coming through garbled, so you'll have to forgive me. Larry, I don't know whether you're getting the garbled or not, but that doesn't really, I'll make my point here. This come under a correspondence actions to deal with today, apparently. So why wasn't there a report come with it from someone from Parks to say, these days we're going to have to bring extra people in, or these days we're not, or these days we're open, these days we're not. There should be a report come with this to make a decent decision whether we're going to do this or not. This is a request, but there's nothing there isn't anything here that says that on September the 10th, for instance, we won't have anybody working, so we're going to have to bring some people in, or they are working. So I don't appreciate myself personally to have something on a correspondence action that isn't a full report.
Okay. Yeah, if Ryan's there, he can maybe speak to that, but Larry, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree 100% with Deputy Mayor Giroux. And just to add to that, did we not offer it last year when they ran their roller skating events, or a few of them? Did we not offer it to them free of?
I think before COVID, they did one or two of them, and I'm not sure how that was done. I don't know if Brian's there, maybe you can come on and.
Oh, we're also, my last comment, we're also doing some lenient things to help different people do things to get our community back going. We've done it already with some others. So I think we should be looking the same way at this here, but it's interesting to hear what Ryan's got to say about the availability and the cost.
Okay, Ryan, go ahead.
Good morning, Mayor Martin and members of council. What exactly was the question that you were looking to get answered?
Well, around this, there was a question here in our correspondence action items around roller skating. It was addressed to you and I and Bob. So looking for a report on, the effects. Like, I know I phoned you to ask you about this thing, and you had said something about coming out of your budget, so there would have to be some sort of money coming from somewhere. So I guess that could have been added in this report, like a full report instead of just the email.
Okay. I do recall that email. I did respond to it, but I haven't heard anything since then. So in order to kind of provide some information on the dates, all of these dates are outside our normal working hours, so we would be required to bring staff in to attend these events. Through that email, I was communicating that I thought that maybe we should be trying to recover some of our operating costs by not waiving the fees, but actually sponsoring the events, and looking at it that way, because there will be an operations cost to these events if council wishes to support them. So that was just a suggestion that I thought that that I would make.
So that's go ahead, Larry.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, is that the way it was handled prior to COVID, Ryan, when the people had their roller skating there? There was 2 or 3 of them, I think. So how was that handled?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I believe that council waived the fees. There was no transfer of funds, so I was just suggesting at the time that instead of waiving the fees, we should be another option would be for council to choose to sponsor the events. That way, a little bit of the revenue costs get recovered into the operating budget, and then the Parks and Rec budget isn't absorbing all the costs of these events alone. But that's up to council to decide what they want to do.
Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
So, thank you, Mayor Martin, and through you again. That doesn't give me a figure what the cost is. So okay. If we're going to have to bring in 2 Parks and Recs guys for at least 6 times, according to Ryan. So Ryan, you explain to me how you're going to cover cost if we sponsor it.
Okay, so all I was suggesting was that, like, typically when we rent and operate the arena, we're always operating in a slight deficit, right? So in this case, our rental fee would be $50 an hour. So for an event for 4 hours, you're looking at. So what I was suggesting is instead of just waiving the $200 fee, council can sponsor it maybe from their initiatives fund. And that way that money gets transferred back into the Parks and Recreation operations budget to help offset the costs of having the staff attend the facility during these events, because there is a cost to it. It would be probably slightly under $200, but I'm just saying that there is a cost to it. So if you were to sponsor all of these events, we would be able to offset some of those costs.
Thank you, Ryan. Through you again, Mayor Martin. Thank you, Ryan. That's exactly what I wanted to hear, now that we understand that. So if we're going to sponsor their events, my last point of interest is where the money will come from to do it.
So for today, Ryan or Bob, I don't know if we're looking at the first and second and taking that from a grant. It's the last 3 dates that we're concerned about, as far as it would be good if that report would come to us for our last meeting of June, explaining how it works. And maybe in the meantime, there would be some, like you say, maybe some other sponsors are out there. Like we're looking at it $200 for the time. There might be some businesses out there willing to sponsor it. If not, at the end of the month, we could give them enough notice, like at our next meeting, we'd be able to give them enough notice if there's any help from us, or if there's some from outside. So if we could have something for the last meeting in June there, with all the information that you gave us, Ryan, it would help everyone understand. It would also give the Lions a chance to see if they have any other sponsors also for that. But, you know, it's the first 3 of them, I think, are covered, and it lets them move forward. But anyways, Barry, you had a question?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I have one question, and it is, we're worried about staff being there. So to me, this is a time of the year when it's not really all that busy, and you could really maybe juggle juggle staff so that they could be on. We don't say what days that they have to work. I guess that's taken for granted that you work Monday to Friday. But I know in the winter time you have to work some weekends. So I mean, I can't see why we can't juggle this around and have staff come on you know, on the dates that are needed without paying overtime or whatever.
Okay.
So that's my question anyway to you, Ryan.
Okay, Ryan, did you get that?
Through Mayor Martin to Councillor Pomeroy's comment, it may not seem like it's a busy time of year, but it's an extremely busy time of year right now. Just staying caught up with what's going on. We're still cleaning up after the storm here. We've got flowers coming this week. We've got 2 days of rain. We're always faced with challenges during the day, and to take a staff member or two off during the week to put them on afternoons, it's even more challenging. We could try it if that's what council wishes to do, but I just want to confirm that like this is a really busy time of year for the Parks and Rec staff. We have a lot of responsibilities right now that we're trying to address, and we can try doing that, but you know, typically in our employment agreement, our hours are set and we schedule our work according to those hours, but we have in the past accommodated certain things for like tournaments and events and things like that, so we can try and do that. But like I said, like it's going to negatively impact somewhere else in the operation if we're pulling someone off their regular duties. So something to keep in mind.
You don't have the students covered?
Yeah, that could be something to talk about. But Councillor Ellis, go ahead, and then Councillor Webb. Can you hear better now, guys?
I didn't have a question.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Webb.
I was just wondering if there's something we could have the students do.
Can you hear that?
Do we have the students covered?
Sorry, I can't hear the question.
Could we have the students work those days instead of our senior staff?
Through Mayor Martin to Councillor. Yeah, we can schedule the students to work that event. Yeah, we've got them trained to operate the facility.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Giroux.
One more point through you, Mr. Mayor. This whole term I've asked staff to come up with a number, not so much a number, but with a policy on this type of thing. We've yet to see it. If we had that policy and we had X number of dollars in the budget every year, when something like this come up, we wouldn't have to spend an hour talking about it. We say yay or nay, the money's there. We always either, I appreciate Ryan's input this morning because I didn't quite understand the first comment, but normally we would go back to councillor initiatives. Either we're going to bang that up at a higher rate or put more money in it, or we will have a separate policy. I wanted to see a separate policy. So when organizations come in, we had the money. If the money run out, I'm sorry, it's gone. But I've never seen that for 4 years. I think it's time we had one. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, sorry, I did. Through you, Mr. Mayor. This request is coming through the Lions Club?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. All right then. So I think Deputy Mayor Giroux, you mentioned about the council initiatives, and that's kind of what we talked about in budget time. There's lots of money in council initiatives to do things like this. That's what it was for, and we talked about it then. So I think for today, if we could get a report brought back for the last, stating what Ryan was saying around the rental fees and things like that, and where it's coming from, or where it needs to come from, or how it'll affect the operations. They can start off right now with the 18th, 1st, and 2nd, and see what we can do for the last 3 after the last meeting in June. Would that work for everyone? So if we ask for a motion, or get a motion to ask Public Work or Parks and Rec to bring back, Ryan to bring back a report stating what he had there, put it in writing. In the meantime, the Lions may find some other people to sponsor some of these days, but that's what it is. It's a sponsor, whether it's council or the businesses out there. You know, maybe we can cover the last 3 days somehow, one way or the other. So does somebody want to make a motion that we get a report brought back, but we agree to the first and second, and the 18th is already covered? Okay, it's moved by Councillor Webb. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Ellis? Okay, any other questions or comments?
Through your Mayor Martin, a quick question or a response to Deputy Giroux's comment on the called a contingency fund or a reserve specific to these plans that come up that might be spontaneous that weren't in the budget. We do have a reserve for working capital, a working capital budget that could address this. Could it be more streamlined and baked into a policy that then would make sense? Absolutely, but foundation is there, duly noted, and we'll certainly work on that.
Okay. All right, so we have a mover and a seconder to get a report brought back on the last meeting of the month there, and hopefully we can help with the rest of it. So all in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay. All right, then we'll move on then. Lost everything there.
Something cool.
Yeah. Okay, so the next item here is the fan work project that Cashebog Lake's working on, and what it was is I think they've seen the environment money that we put into the budget, and we haven't got any policies or any plans around how we're going to distribute that. But that being said, this is kind of what it was for, is they're putting some money in with Trent University to do a study back there. And this fan work's a real problem. So I'll leave it up to council here if this could come from that environment grant that we talked about, and maybe incorporate some of these things around, like we do need to get some sort of a policy around how it's going to be distributed. But this kind of fits right in. It's going to benefit probably a lot of the lakes below Cashebog Lake too, because it's all flows down through the system and it's starting to spread. So I'll leave it with council here. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. How much money did we receive in the grant?
We didn't receive it. We put 10,000 into the budget for grant to distribute to the lake associations, and that's what they've been reading. So they're putting 1,000 in, and they're asking if we would match 1,000. So it's going to be a lot more than that, this project that they're doing, but they're working with Trent University on how they do it. So
is it time sensitive? Like, is it something like, can we look at this or have staff look at this and possibly look at, you know, creating a policy here within the next, say, month or so? I don't think the policy should be too complicated, really, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at like probably a matching dollars thing, and
yeah,
and which lakes or whatever would get it, right? In terms of, we don't want one lake taking all the grant money, but I mean, so could we? That's what I'm saying. Could we possibly put that off for a meeting or two, and then re-examine it once we have a policy in place?
Yeah, there's no dates on this thing. It just says 6 to 8 week study. So I don't see why that would hurt to you know.
I mean, I'm just asking. I don't know if they're sending the money, like, you know, they needed the money by July 1st because they're
That's right.
done.
Yeah, there's nothing on here for dates. So maybe there again we can get something, come up with something so we can let them make use of it. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I think we should, if we're going to donate $1,000 to Posh Lake, that, you know, the other lakes should get equal amount if they're doing environment studies. So that way we're not leaving anyone out. We're not showing segregation or.
No, And it's been mentioned, I did the Round Lake AGM already, and I've got a couple more AGMs coming up. I did the Jacks Lake, and I told them that we do have this $10,000 there. And I think it was talked about that up to 1,000 was allowed, so it would cover the 10 lakes in the municipality. So, yeah, so
something like
yeah.
that, like.
So if you wanted to make that a motion that we try and get the policy done, because we do have to make use of this thing, so that would be perfect. Okay, so moved by Councillor Webb that we get a policy in place, and before we respond to Cashbog Lake. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ellis with a comment?
With a question?
Go ahead.
You mentioned, Jim, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, that you've been communicating this to the Lake Association meetings that you have attended. I presume you'll continue that with the other lake associations, so everybody is aware.
Yeah, yeah, that's part of it.
And have we communicated that in any way to the lake associations to this point, other than at your meetings?
I don't think it's gone out there, and that's where I guess, you know, that'll be a part of the minutes for this meeting, and that should go out as a mass. You know, we do communicate with the lake associations, and that's how it should go out, probably to all of them that way too.
That would be preferred, and if you need a motion to that effect, I would gladly make the motion, because I'm sure very likely that some of the lakes are not aware of the grant money.
Okay, yeah, only 2 have had their meetings so far, so they're the only 2 that would know, but that's good. So is that okay with you, Councillor Webb, that we add that to the motion? That it will be circulated as soon as it's done to all of the lake associations through the mailer. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Droe, did you have a comment?
I agree. No, I have a question for Ryan after, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right then. So we have a motion. Councillor Webb, Councillor Ellis. So I'll call a question. All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay. All right, Dave, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I waited till we talked about Cosh Lake. I didn't want to get off track here. I wanted to ask Ryan, when pertaining to Cosh Lake, have we had any movement on the dock?
Through Mayor Martin to Deputy Mayor Droe's comment. I have been in contact with Terry, but at this point I haven't received any information if they've moved forward at all. But I have had a couple of conversations with him. I left it with him, explained to him what council has done and how they've supported the dock replacement and their involvement. And then I basically left it with him to update me once they've got a plan in place.
Thank you very much for that, Ryan.
So I can add to that too. I just got an email from, and I'm going to be talking to him this week, as the president of Cosh Lake has said that he reached out to M&R about that dock. And at this time right now, they're saying that they have no interest in it, and they're talking on tearing it out. That'll be a nightmare. So anyways, it's probably going to be something that's going to have to come back to staff. That's the way I thought it was going to go. As far as replacing the dock, I thought it would be a building permit type of thing. But anyways, he's not getting any good information back there. So it'll be interesting to see how it ends up. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, M&R is saying that it's not, that they had no intentions of doing any work on the dock. It doesn't fit in. So we'll see where it goes. Okay, Dave? Okay then. So we have some correspondence for information here. You know, the one thing was good there was the Ministry of Transportation looking at Highway 7 and Mary Street, doing another evaluation. So that was probably due to the Good Roads meeting that you had.
Yeah.
So that's good. And yeah, so, and that's it as far as there was a letter there from Jacks Lake. And There's going to be a new one coming out today because we have got permission to let brush go to all the transfer stations, like all the West Kosh and the Oak Lake transfer station too. So that's going to help in the cleanup for some of the people, because some are worried about fires and things like that, because like I say, it's a disaster area. I'm going to be talking to MPP Smith this week about seeing if there's any assistance for some of the people around. It's unbelievable if you take a drive north, so or east, but our whole township got hit real hard. So go ahead.
So when you're talking to MPP Smith, could he maybe ask if there's going to be something for the whole township, you know, for to get us back in shape, because it's cost, you know, thousands and thousands, you know, could be into $1 million in our budget, who knows? We're far from being cleaned up yet.
It's going to be years.
We could hit another storm, but it would be nice to have some financial backing here too.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what everybody's looking for. We did say we didn't have to declare a state of emergency to get any funding. At this time, there is no funding out there. I think, Bob, you talked to someone the other day, if you wanted to bring that up.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So the process is that funding becomes available if the minister announces emergency relief funding. And as of this moment, there has not been an announcement from the provincial government that emergency funding is available. If and when it becomes available, we will certainly pursue that and hopefully get our share of that.
Okay. So yeah, so we'll see where it goes. I'm sure there will be eventually. I think the election kind of got in the way of them helping in any way. One of the things that did come out is it's such a narrow band that it's not a province-wide emergency. It's a strip from Uxbridge to Ottawa, and we're in the middle of it. But there was nothing south, nothing north. Everything is just right down. So, you know, some didn't even have a flicker of power. So it doesn't look as bad to the whole province, but the main population, I think, got affected big time. So yeah, so that'll be ongoing discussions. And that's where we're going back to the weekly meetings. I'm sure that'll be the topic of discussion at the first one. So, okay. All right, so a motion to receive the balance of the correspondence, moved by Councillor Webb, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Oh, okay. So do you want to go to the delegation, or did you want to?
Sure, let's go to the delegation.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the delegation. Okay. She's okay.
Jane J.
Where is she?
She just left.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the delegation there who's available now, and Jane from Gallagher Consulting. Welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we do have a report here with regards to council pay review. If you wanted to go through it.
Okay. I think Kayla's got the slides up there. Okay, so thank you very much for accommodating my timelines. I had a couple of sessions this morning already, so I appreciate you accommodating it on the agenda. If you want to go to the next slide. So the there was two portions to the review that I completed for the township. The first one that we're presenting this morning is the council remuneration. So we were brought in to assess the level of remuneration and some of the practices that are applied within the municipality for the elected officials. And we're doing that as compared to other municipalities of similar size or scope. We have a couple other metrics that we use to kind of see if this makes sense as your comparator organizations. When we do a council review, it's very different than looking at, say, the non-union or staff compensation review, where you're looking at competitiveness. For council elected officials, you're looking to make sure that the remuneration is fair. It's a very difficult and we don't have the same kind of metrics that we can rely on to assess fairness, but we do try and at least take a holistic view to say, is that remuneration fair in consideration of the work and the time commitments that are required? The roles of a council member have really changed over time. It's not just simply coming to a council meeting and dispensing with the issues that are presented to you. The issues are complex. You're dealing with development issues, planning, environmental issues, social issues that all have to come before council. And they all require due diligence. They require you to read reports in advance. I know some council agenda minutes and reports can be quite extensive. So it takes a lot of time to prepare, to come to council to make the decisions. And these decisions have some long-lasting impact. So it's just the bullet here is just to say that the role is actually a complex role that requires a lot of skill and due diligence of the member. A lot of municipalities are doing council reviews because they want to try and improve the diversity of candidates on council, or that at least stand for council. And we do recognize that pay is not usually the primary driver. People don't go, hey, I think I'll put my name forward to run for the mayor's role because it looks like a great pay. But we also want to make sure that it's not a barrier, that the people are saying, for the amount of work that's involved, it's just not enough to compensate me for my time and the expense of the what I can't do otherwise, or daycare costs or any other costs that might be incurred. And then the last piece that we look at is we still have to be mindful that it is a public service organization. You are taxpayer funded. So we have to make sure that that remuneration, whatever is recommended, does fit within your framework of being fiscally responsible, and is it sustainable over the longer term, and does it align to the current practices across other municipalities as well for their council remuneration. Next slide. The approach that we took, we have 10 comparator organizations that were identified in consultation with the CAO. These are the survey participants. There's a large predominance of County of Peterborough positions or townships, so peer municipalities within the area. It's the same comparator group that we have used with the exception of MADOC. MADOC participated in the request to participate in the council remuneration, but they didn't participate in the staff review. Next slide. We developed a survey questionnaire for these municipalities, and we asked them to provide information on what is the base remuneration, are there any per diems being paid to the council members, and if there are, what are the conditions around what those per diems or when those per diems are being paid. Any other allowable expenses, cash allowances. In some of the larger municipalities, you might have a travel allowance, you might have a car allowance, not very common in the lower tier level, but we ask the questions anyways about kilometer rates and so forth. We also asked some questions around benefits. So insured benefits, life insurance, accidental death and dismemberment insurance, access to those coverage levels. And if you do, who's paying the premiums for them? And then access to pension, and the pension being OMERS, which is in the municipal sector. So we gathered the information from the 10 comparator organizations, tabulated the responses. The results of that summary are included in the report in the summary table. Next slide. So when we look at the base remuneration, which really is the bulk of the report, Typically, just to, as for context, the remuneration that is paid as a base pay or base per diem, not per diem, a base honorarium or a stipend, whatever terminology you want to use, is usually recognizing the time that you have to spend to attend the council meetings and perform your constituency work. I only note this as compared to, say, if you're at the county level, participating at the county council level, it is far more active remuneration in terms of committee attendance, ad hoc working groups, and the actual county meetings as well. The basis of comparison that we've used in the absence of having a stated pay policy for your organization, for the township, for 2021, we said we would look at the median or the middle of the market. So we would rank all of the remunerations in rank order or hierarchical order, and then the median is the middle point. An observation of plus or minus 5% of that median data point or statistic is considered to be what we call aligned to the market group. When we talk about the non-union group, we would talk about being competitive within that market median group. If we look at the summary chart, we have included the statistics with all 10 comparators included. And then in the shaded gray, we have it in where we've pulled out the town of Madoc or the municipality of Madoc, only in part because Madoc was significantly low. So it is an outlier, and traditionally or typically when we do our reviews for council or staff, we would pull out unusually low outliers for comparison purposes. But if we look at the statistics as they stand, the role of mayor and the role of deputy mayor roles in the all comparator group, plus 1.9% and 0.4%. So both of those statistics are right around the market median, so the middle of the market. The councillor role is significantly above the market, or quite a bit above the market at 14.2%. If we exclude Madoc, the mayor, deputy mayor, you're still sort of close to that middle of the market at 5.5% and 6%. So you're pretty close to the 5% mark that we use as our measure. And the councillor role, the statistic changed only marginally. So you are still showing that role as being above the market median. Next slide. Another thing that we take a look at, as we do with staff, as your role increases in responsibility, we want to make sure that there's a differentiation between the duties or between the pay for those different roles, to recognize that you do have a broader scope of responsibility, additional tasks and qualifications or activities that you have to undertake. So there should be some recognition for those additional duties, and we do it by looking at the differential between each one of the pays. So for the township of Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, your approach to setting the differentiation is that you apply a flat rate to make sure that the deputy mayor and the councillor have a dollar amount difference between each one of them, as opposed to a percentage. Over time, what this practice has done is it has created some compression between the deputy mayor and councillor. As you can see, there's only 4% difference between those two rates of pay at the township. This is what we would call compression, that it's not generally accepted as being a noticeable difference between the two rates of pay for taking on the extra role of deputy mayor. The typical practice across the sector is to apply a percentage role or a percentage increase. So you establish the rates as mayor, deputy mayor, and councillor, and then each year you would apply whatever if you're aligning it to whatever the non-union group would get, you would say if it's 1.75%, for example, or 2%, all three roles would get that percentage increase. So that way you maintain your differential going forward. And as you can see, compared to your other organizations, they do have that differentiation between the three separate roles. Next slide. So in terms of the practices, how you are administering the remuneration, you do align the base increase or the base pay for the mayor at least. It is aligned to the staff increases, which is typical across the sector. However, you do, as I just said, you have that flat amount that creates some compression amongst the amongst the roles, and it is a deviation from standard practice. Per diems paid for attending conferences, other training events that might be held. It is in keeping with the comparator practices. It's not common to have per diems across the lower tier levels, so that's all in keeping with that practice, not only within your comparator, but across the sector. The travel expenses, so you are paid a per kilometer travel expense. It is aligned to whatever the County of Peterborough sets, and the County of Peterborough aligns it to the CRA rate. Because most of the comparator organizations are from the county, they do the same thing, so you are aligned to that practice. Aligning to the CRA rate is typically what we would see across the province. There are, you do provide a higher benefit level with 3 others because you do pay for all travel expenses related to council business. Some municipalities will only pay for travel. The kilometer reimbursement will only be paid if it is for travel that is perhaps outside of the boundary of the township itself, or if it's a special event or special circumstances, paying kilometers for going to training opportunities or any conferences as well. So you are a little bit on the higher side in that regard. The access to benefit plans, 50% of the comparator organizations do offer the council members access to the insured benefit plans. Some of them are cost sharing, some of them are 100% the premiums are paid for by the township itself, which we do tend to see as the trend, is that if it is being offered to the municipal members or the council members, then it is at no cost to those members. Participation is still voluntary though. So the township in this case, you do not have any access to insured health or dental benefits or any insurance coverages. Pension is not typically offered. We do ask the question just in case, but it's not typically offered across the sector to municipal council members. So the access to insured health or dental or some insurance coverage levels, life insurance or accidental death and dismemberment, it is an opportunity that you could consider as an option for new council members coming in. Next slide. So in summary, the overall, if we take a look at the excluding MADOC statistics, we would say that the level of remuneration for 2 of the positions is slightly lower than what your comparator organizations are offering. You do not offer any other additional compensation in the form of per diems or health benefits. So if you're slightly lower on base and you're not offering anything else, it's starting to bring you a little bit lower in the rank order of the other comparator organizations. And just as a general comment, as I said at the outset, we know that people don't go, hey, I think I'll run for public office because I get a good salary. It's not really what it's not an attraction issue. And it's not necessarily that we want to say that you're competitive in the traditional sense of how we would say a job is competitive within the marketplace. But you also have to make sure, as we said at the outset, that it's sufficient to recognize, and it's also respectful of the time and commitment that each member of council has to put in for fulfilling that role and representing their constituencies. Next slide. So we have made some recommendations within the report. As I said at the outset, you do not have a formal pay policy, so it's always good to establish that in your bylaw to say you are going to align to the middle of the comparator market. So you don't want to lead the market, but you also don't want to be lagging in the market. To undertake a market review once per term of council. Typically, we did do a fair number of council reviews in the last year because a lot of the councils like to schedule it so that it's the market review is completed, and then whatever is approved for the incoming council in the fall of this year. The remuneration recommendations, we are making a recommendation to increase or adjust the mayor's 2021 base by 3%. It's really just to close that gap that was around the 5.5%, I believe, or 5.9%. So we want to close that gap a little bit. And then the same thing with the deputy mayor, it was about 6% off of market. So we want to bring that gap a little bit tighter. And we're making a recommendation to increase it by 3% as well. And this also establishes a better differential between the deputy mayor and the councillor role. Because the councillor's role remuneration was showing as a little bit on the high side of market, we are saying that it should be maintained without any further adjustments. We did the market review with 2021 data, so that's why we're quoting 2021 dollars. We recognize that there are, we're now into the middle of 2022, so we do suggest that you adjust all of these salaries by the 2022 COLA that was applied to the non-union group, which was 3%. And I believe that's the last slide. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jane. One of the things when we did this at the county, anything that was decided by this council, because it's so late in the term, it was carried over for the next term of council. So this recommendation that you have now, would that be for the next term of council when you're talking about the mayor and deputy mayor, those increases, would that be for the next term of council?
Typically, yes. I mean, if we were doing it in the middle of the term, then I would say do it for your current existing council. But because we're now so close to the next term, and it also helps in terms of transparency and, that you're open about the process, and it doesn't come across as self-serving, so to speak, that yes, it would be recommended for the incoming term of council in the fall.
Okay, and I think that, yeah, it does make it easier and it lets the people see what's there. And you're right, if you're running for the money, there's a lot easier things to do. If you like a challenge, that's more of what it's all about, I think. So it's a good report, and I think it's good for the next term of council to be able to see this and see how it was all done. And it's a tough one to do, and councils always have troubles talking about their wages. But that being said, this is a good process, and I think it'll work out for people. It's a good read. So I'll open it up to council and see if you have any questions or concerns around this report. Deputy Mayor Giroux and then Councillor Ellis.
Well, first of all, Jane, thank you very much. Obviously, there's been a lot of work go into this. It's long overdue in one way, but it's nice that it's come at this time at the end of our term. I think it does make it easier for all council members to look at this with open eyes and respectfully, and know that it's going to be the next term of council. Now, some of us, at least one of us, has already said, but we're not coming back. But we don't know whether anybody's getting back or not. So I think for me, it's not a hard decision. If the next council puts as many hours and as much effort in their next 4 years term, and their next 4-year term as this council has, I don't have a problem with this, and I don't think the taxpayers will either. So thank you. And I'm not sure, Mayor Martin, whether we're going to proceed with any recommendations today or not. So if we are going to move on this today or sit on it, if we're going to move on it, I'd be willing to make that motion.
Yeah, we'll take a motion, Deputy Mayor Giroux, and then we'll go over to Councillor Ellis. So the motion would be, what would the motion be here, Bob?
The motion would be to accept the recommendation from Gallagher Consulting to be implemented in January of 2023.
When it comes to the council's remuneration.
That's correct.
Okay, Councillor Ellis, you were next. I don't know whether you want to second it, but
well, through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, if we're going that way, I'd gladly second the motion. Again, I would like to thank Jane, as Deputy Mayor Giroux has, and I'd like to just echo Deputy Mayor Giroux's comments. I just have a question for Jane, and I'm not sure whether you even do this, but I'm curious with all the data and the information that you collect doing what you're doing here. If there's any data supporting the type of candidate, keeping in mind what we're just dealing with here with a remuneration, if there's any data that supports the remuneration being kept fair and where it really should be, does that attract a different expertise in candidates thinking about municipal council? You know, maybe a higher educated person, their expertise or their work experience and so on and so on. Does that attract a different individual? I hope I'm explaining what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's an attraction issue that you're basically asking is, you know, if we're offering, you know, 30,000, is that going to attract a different candidate than if we're offering 15,000? I'm not aware of any studies that are done on that in that regard. I think one of the things that I'm just anecdotally saying, I don't have any evidence or you know, statistics on hand, but if the role is deemed to be full-time and you get what is closer to what you would expect as a full-time employee and you have access to health and dental benefits, you might attract a different level of candidate, because then they are basically giving up their job, their full-time job, and they're working in this role as a full-time position. So it might just, you know, by extension, attract a different level of candidate, but I don't know that there's any evidence to support it. Most people do put their name forward, not looking at the salary. They put their name forward because they want to do the public service. They have some issues that they would like to help contribute to the community. But then it still comes down to, you know, you do put in a lot of time. You do put in a lot of effort. There's, you know, it's not a 9-to-5 job. You can't just shut your phone off and say, you know, I'm not going to deal with it until tomorrow. And potentially you have another job as well. So you have another full-time job. So you still have to be respectful in that regard, and pay something that is a little bit more than, you know, above or below minimum wage if you actually added up all of the hours that were expended in the process. So to your original question, I can't answer it. I don't know that if you offer a higher level salary, if you will attract some higher level candidates in terms of their qualifications and skills. I think it might, at least it won't be a barrier if you offer a higher salary.
Very good. Thank you, Jane.
Okay, thank you, Jane. And I'm glad you clarified. I did have a comment last night to me about hanging on for the pension, and I'm glad you clarified that. We don't get a pension here. It's I think a lot of people see the provincial stuff and they think that it's the same at municipal level, but no, it's the starter level. So anyways, well done. And I think, yeah, for the next term of council, I think some of the discussions will be around some of the other things that we do offer here. Mileage within our township and things like that can be dealt with. But it's good that it's for the next term of council and people get to see this. So I thank you for that. So we do have a mover and a seconder on this report. If there's no other questions or comments, I'm going to call a question. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, well, thank you, Jane. Do you have other appointments before 1 o'clock or one of the questions? we were just wondering if you would like to get your other part of your report enclosed out of the way here. We don't have anyone in the waiting room, so we could go into closed if you like to finish the other half of your report.
If I can work with your schedule, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll look for council's thoughts here. If we could get a motion to go into closed session.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that's carried. So I'll let Bianca adjust the screen here and we'll go into closed session to discuss the rest.
And we'll just remove some people from the meeting.
Oh, I'm gonna get a motion. All right, I'm gonna get a motion here to resume the meeting. We come out of closed session, moved by Councillor Webb, seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we're gonna move into committee liaison reports, and the first item there, Dave, is county council update. Did you have anything there?
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, well, as you recall, in that meeting, my internet was in and out terrible. It was terrible, but we did pass the bylaw county in regards to the Burnt Dam Bridge. So that's a three-way partnership between HBM, Peterborough County, and the Snowmobile Association. So that's going to come forward shortly. It's a done deal. So our council already passed that motion, so everything's a go there. I don't know whether our staff has received any requests from the county in regards to the official plan or not, but they may be getting one. So there was lengthy discussion on the official plan, and it's moving along. Other than that, Mayor Martin, you may have some stuff to touch on, but like I said, my internet was in and out and it was hard to follow the meeting.
Well, speaking about internet, that was a big part of the discussion at the beginning of the meeting. We talked about internet and cell gaps, and we had Eorn there, and there was some good news there around Rogers bringing up some of the sites. They've done 180 upgrades around the province, and they've 265 new sites, like new towers going to be happening. And I don't know if that's just in Eastern Ontario or if that's province wide, but they have 300 right now and they're doubling it almost. And then they're doing a lot of 75 co-locations where they're adding to towers their services. And their goals are 99% of the population will be able to have cell access anywhere. 95% will be able to get online email, because right now, believe it or not, some people have nothing. And 85% will be able to stream videos and things like that, which some of us take for granted, but right now there's a lot that can't even do that. So that's all supposed to happen in the next 2 years. And it's a $300 million investment, which half of that is coming from Rogers. So, and the other is coming from, municipalities and province and whatever. So anyways, it's, they hope to have 20 new towers up by the end of this year. And I think one of them I'm thinking is the one that we see on Anderson Road. But that brought up a question that a lot were talking about, the policy around tower sightings. And we did something a few years ago, and Bob reminded me, and it might be something we need to look back at, because we wonder why we don't hear about anything, but we subbed that out to a company and we don't hear anything. So it might be a time that we start to look at that policy and have one similar to some of our neighbors. So we have a little more control, or we're a little more notice on it. So that can be for another day, but and then, yeah, the rest of the stuff we dealt with. The official plan is now out in the draft form, and there's some things there I had questions around our some of our areas, but a lot of the changes were done, and there's still a few more changes happening. So that was it for county council. It was a long day, but those things will directly affect Havelock Law and them. So, but that's all I have there. And with that, I can move into Councillor Ellis, you had HBM Community Policing Committee minutes. You have anything to add there?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, the community policing wanted me to voice their appreciation for several things that got fixed over the last couple of years through COVID, and the great cleaning job that's being done now compared to what it used to be. So they just wanted to let council and staff know that that was much appreciated. They also wanted me to voice the fact that at Celebrate Havelock, they'd done their normal barbecue there and raised quite a substantial amount of money for the Tyler Bootler Bursary, which sends money to a child at Havelock, Belmont, and Methuen, as well as HBM or in Norwood District High School. And then the other thing, at one of the meetings, they commented that at one time they used to attend your police services board meeting, and they were wondering if they could attend again. So I said I would voice that at our council meeting. And the last thing is they still didn't have an OPP assigned to their meetings. I had spoke with Bob about it, and Bob, if you could give me an update if there's anything on that.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, I did reach out to the OPP and ask that question. I have not received a response, but I'll reach out again and we'll confirm who that individual is.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And as far as a member of the community policing attending your police services, I don't know what the process is there, Jim, but I did speak to you about it, and you said in the past they used to. So is that just an invitation from you, or how does that work?
Yeah, Bianca will send an invite. We'll get a contact name for the invite, and they'll be invited to the next one.
Okay, Sharon Estabrook is the contact there.
Okay.
Okay, other than that, that's it. Thank you. Motion to receive the minutes.
Okay, moved by Larry, seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we'll move into the Councillor Pomeroy, you've got the library board May 26th and minutes from April 21st.
Yeah, is there any questions on them? The library board is very, very happy that things are moving ahead up there, and Mrs. Mack, we had a tour of the basement. Ryan to give her some keys so that we could get in, and there's a few little things that have to be repaired down there. I was quite surprised the building didn't burn down, but the dryer vent, when they pulled out the dryer and took it, it's right full. Oh my God. But anyway, no, so they're happy, and they're very pleased they can move ahead with some of the programs, like children's programs and so on and so forth, and adult programs. So I never realized until I got on the library board how many people use it. You know, it's something that I never used myself. And anyway, that's it.
Okay, so I'll get a motion to receive the minutes from April 21st, moved by Councillor Webb. Seconder? Seconder? Deputy Mayor Giroux? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next we're going to move into Eastern Trails Alliance. Dave?
Well, I'd be happy to answer any questions from council in regards to this report before I give you a little verbal. Okay. If there isn't any, I will just state that like everyone else, when the storm went through, we had several people on our trails. Some of them were trapped. Some pretty wild stories from some of the people that thought their life was going to come to an end, perhaps, or be injured at the least. And anyway, anybody with a chainsaw on their bike, and their cell phones that would work. Things worked out very well. To my knowledge, nobody was hurt. And they helped each other get either to their designated parking lot where their trailers were, or at least get them off the trail and onto a road that they could get home. So as far as I know, as of last week, all trails are open again and ready to roll. There might be still some repairs to do, but the trails are open again, thanks to a lot of people and a lot of the clubs. I will say that I believe it was, might have been last Friday. I see them cutting the grass again down at the County Road 50 parking lot. So everything is going well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's my report.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions for Deputy Mayor Giroux? If not, I'll take a motion to receive the minutes from March 10th. Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. I'm just gonna lost my place looking at the minutes. Okay, so Crow Valley, I've got minutes there from the April 21st meeting, and for the full authority, and the ones from Source Water Protection. So is there any questions around that?
I want you to be on time the next time.
Yeah. Yeah, juggling meetings. So okay, that's the thing, right? So I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes if there's no questions. Moved by Councillor Webb, seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that's carried. Yeah, that's one of those ones jumping from one to the other. All right, so we're going to move into new business. And did we have yours there, Bob? Oh, we needed to get a motion for the summary of activities. Oh no, that is it. Okay, I was thinking
that's okay. That's new business. Yeah,
I was thinking the closed session one. Okay. All right, so we're moving into new business here, and the first is delegations at AMO. Councillor Pomeroy.
Yeah, I would like to make a presentation at AMO concerning our lights up at 7 County Road 46 and Concession Street there. The treadle doesn't work again, because as you can see when you pull up to the stop sign there, or up to the signal, if you're on the treadle, especially on the north side where the trucks do all the turning, it's rolled the wire right out in places there, right? So, and Peter had a report, and we were denied a grant earlier this year or last year, whatever. And I would like to approach them again on that, because the new traffic signals have the camera up top, you know, so you don't have that problem. And it wasn't that big of an expense, but it's something that I think in the connecting link, it should be looked at.
Okay, so you want to make a delegation at AMO, or should we try to do that before that?
I'd like to make a delegation at AMO, because it's coming up in June 24th. We have to have
the delegate. Yeah. Okay. All right then. So, Councillor, you're going, are you?
Yeah.
All right. So, Councillor Pomeroy would like to make a delegation at AMO with regards to MTO. So you can submit that, Bob?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is there anything else anyone wants to, anybody else go on that wants to say a minister about anything? Because the cutoff date is June 24th. And, you know, we could utilize our time. Or has anybody here got any questions for another minister or whatever?
Okay, Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Are we going to ask our MPP to try and get a delegation with the proper minister for this?
Yeah, he said for the that he would help us before, and we did get the proper minister when we went to Toronto. It's just that he makes it official, and you get a spot guaranteed.
So we
So
should,
Yeah.
we should probably Bob should probably go through the MPP's office there.
Yeah.
And see if he can get it to happen. I know the county's not putting any in. They like to deal in person rather than go to those things. So, anyways, they go to Toronto for it or something. So we're not putting anything in there. But if you can do that, Bob?
I can,
You want a
through you,
motion?
Mayor Morton, I can reach out to MPP Smith today and let him know that we're going to request the delegation, and if he can assist with that, and then we should definitely put it through and make the request.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then he's aware of it. So,
Right.
Okay. So,
That's what he said. If he is aware of it, he can get us a guaranteed time and
okay.
So if we'll take a motion that we will request the delegation for.
Yeah, so moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Webb, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, so Larry, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Bob. I'm wondering where we stand with our Fish Hatchery Road. We're waiting on several, or at least two departments regarding a reply back. Would it be something we should be considering as a delegation?
Could ask them at the same time.
We could, through you, Mayor Martin, we could consider that as the delegation. I have been in contact with the ministry representatives, and they're checking on us to see if anything has changed since our last report to council. There was a process for taking over ownership of that road, and they're just checking to see if anything has changed.
Well, if we could get an update, and if the update isn't satisfactory, then we could proceed with the delegation.
Okay, look into that. Bob? Sure. Okay. Okay, the next items on here, I had on here was ATV enforcement, and I'm just going to see what council thought about sending a letter to the ATV club. I don't know, Dave, you can help me with this. Just with some of the complaints that we're receiving around the roads and things, I just wonder if we always do it with the Snowmobile Club, but I don't think we've done it with the ATV club, to send a letter to ask them to maybe get the word out to their people that it's disrupting the town as far as, and we don't want to see just a few bad apples ruin it for everyone, but we do have an issue with modified exhaust and speed of the ATVs throughout the township by the calls I'm getting. So I just wonder if that would be the process, is to send a letter to the ATV club asking them to get the word out to their members. They may not even be members of the ATV club, but it's just to kind of get the word out to their members to help us with this. What do you think? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Actually, the club just went through their annual general meeting, and they have a new president. And I will make sure that Bob gets the contact to the new president through an email or whatever. And I think it's a good idea to reach out to the club. They do as much as they can, but we have to remember the club has grown significantly. I think they have in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 members now. It's growing all the time, but they are not law enforcement, but they can certainly get the word out, and they will bend over backwards, as they have told in their meetings many, many times, to assist the OPP in any way they can, but they are not law enforcement. They're not going to argue or stop ATVers, but it's a great idea to send them a letter and to keep in touch with them, and they'd appreciate it. So I'll get Bob that information.
So if I could get a motion that we direct staff to write a letter to the ATV club and with the information provided. Will that
So
work?
moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. And then the other item on here, Larry was at our last police service board meeting, and it was suggested that if each member of council could provide, I don't know whether Bianca or Bob, or you can send it right to the inspector or the acting inspector, or a couple of questions. So when he comes for the delegation, he's prepared and knows what's coming. So it might streamline things and you know, give them a heads up, or whoever's there, because right now they're going through the recruitment process for an inspector. So you know, I don't know where it's going to fall out. So Councillor Webb.
Yeah, just quickly see that I'd like to point out the negatives. I'll point out the positives, Mr. Mayor. Last weekend I was at the arena and the OPP were out stopping ATVs. So I'll pull over 2 on George Street. I think unfortunately they're both law-abiding ATV people, but it was nice to see them out actually, you know, patrolling the streets. So
okay, and that's what we need.
Yeah.
That's what we need. So
Now the bad news is how many guys did they catch?
well, when he pulled the one guy over 5 minutes later, a kid went around. But we can talk, we can discuss that when we have them in here. At least there's a presence. There's a presence finally. Thank you.
they have got the times now, and the other issue was around the black cat, and that's been taken care of too. And I look forward to the report at the next meeting around one of our roads. So, Councillor Ellis, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's kind of nice to see a little different assortment of OPP guys around in different locations, rather than sitting across from Blakely's garage. However, I had the misfortune that somebody back into my car at Foodland a couple of weeks or so ago. So I had to have an instant report because it was basically a hit and run, because I wasn't there when it happened. So I had a conversation with an OPP officer who was sitting across from Foodland. Took advantage of him sitting there so I could get an incident report so I could get my car fixed. So in the conversation, he says, oh, so you're a member of council, eh? And I said, yeah. Well, he said, you realize I was told, or we were told, not to be sitting along the highway. And that was supposed to come from your council. Well, I said, I'm at all council meetings and nobody at council told you or gave direction that you weren't to be sitting along the highway. What was asked was for you to be deployed if it was there, if you're there to collect data for the amount of traffic. The County Road 46, for an example, has lots of traffic, and we did comment about that. And it was all around these 3 or 4 individuals on ATVs that terrorize our municipality, as well as the Matheson property. Well, he wasn't aware of that, so how it came forward, but he said, I was told not to be hanging around. And his explanation of being where he was, he said, we sit here sometimes because we're open to the public and people approach us just like you did tonight, he said. So anyway, to add to that, I was told again on the weekend, people walking in the Matheson property now were even passed by ATV going down the road, even though it's no motorized vehicles. So it's continuing. And if we're going to get some support from the OPPs, you know, that's the area where we're looking for the support. And that's what I tried to get across to the constable.
Okay. All right then. So I'm not sure when our next meeting is, but Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. Just for clarification, I have a couple of questions for the OPP. Did you want us to send those questions directly to the OPP, or could we send them to staff and all the questions go in at one time? Give us a timeline when they should be to staff. That would be my preference.
I think it would probably be easier if it went to Bianca, and then Bianca can make sure it put it all together and give it to the OPP up there, the admin up there.
So what is our time frame?
Over the next, I don't know, week or so, 2 weeks. I don't think there's,
They come to the next meeting here.
I'm not sure. No, I don't think so.
No, so I think if we allow the next 2 weeks for questions, then hopefully we can schedule them for the meeting in July.
When's the next police service report?
Okay, thank you for that. That's the way to do it as far as I'm concerned. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so the other process is supposed to be over in the next couple of weeks. So a couple of weeks is fine for getting the questions in. So, okay. All right then. So that's the end of new business. Did you?
I had something I forgot to put on. I was just going to comment on the fishing derby. The 5th annual fishing derby went on May 28th. Went very well. I'd say we had probably between 50 and 60 kids there, probably 100 to 150 people. I'd just like to say thank you to, make sure I get it right, Cedar Crest Trout Farms. We're providing the fish this year, and a whole bunch of thank yous. Notably, Fire Chief Ray Haynes and the volunteer fire department. They graciously ran a barbecue, hot dogs and hamburgers and drinks for the kids over there. As well, they ran a draw for 2 kids' bicycles. I'm not sure if Ray's in the meeting, if we have the names of the winners yet. I don't know who they were, but anyways, it was a great day. More thank yous. I'd like to thank Kayla Spooner from the office, Parks and Rec Committee. Thank you to Tim Hortons and Subway for providing gift cards for the kids, and to Bill Hart, who was on scene cleaning the trout for the kids. So,
Every year.
and talking.
Yeah.
So as I said, I'd just like to thank council for once again putting on this event, and many good comments received from the community on the event. So thank you, council.
It was a good day. Deputy Mayor Giroux, you had something? You're waving.
I think we're gone beyond it. It was about the OPP. I will, if you bear with me for 90 seconds, we talked about this before. No, I'll leave it. I'll leave it, Mayor Martin, until the next time.
Okay. Just real quick.
Okay, Councilor Webb has one more thing, and then we'll.
Sorry, just while we're talking about FPP Smith, has there been any discussion on timeframe for RFP for old age home, or
No, the election title up, so.
But the election is over now, so I mean, can we?
Oh, yeah, I said that to him.
Okay.
Congratulations. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just remind him that, as you said, the election is over now, and it's time to get back to work. So.
Yeah. So, okay. All right then. So that's the end of new business. I didn't ask for any written or oral notice of motions. Was there anything to come in today? Seeing none. Next is bylaws. We don't have any. Confirming bylaws for today's meeting. Councilor Webb and Councilor Ellis, I think, was waving his hand there. All in favor, and that's carried. And the adjournment is Councilor Pomeroy and Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor. We're done. That's carried.